I win deals for clients all the time because of my approval letter. They recognize my name, they recognize where I work, and they know that it's going to close. Yeah,
Must
I
be
win deals all
cool.
the
How do you
time.
embrace the power of that?
I love it.
The power of your name wins deals.
I love it.
That's pretty
It's
neat.
my favorite when someone tells me that, oh, I saw your approval letter and 3 others, and I immediately told my seller that they have to go with you because it's you.
This podcast is about real estate with intelligence. It is pulling the sword from the stone. This podcast is about that unique balance in real estate, that balance between technological intelligence and our emotional intelligence, and the transactions and interactions with one another in the real estate process. That's why we're inviting expert guests, people who are knowledgeable and bring different perspective. Join me in exploring this fascination, the look behind the scenes of technological advancement and how it's interacting with people's decisions in real estate. Welcome to our Real Estate with Intelligence podcast, Kristi Hardy. I'm really excited to have you here today. Your buoyant personality, your intelligence that you bring to your part of the marketplace in real estate, which is lending. And love to hear more about how you're seeing the market today, what brings you here today, and what it is that you're doing that's different.
Thank you, Tommy, for having me. It's an honor to be with you. So right now in the market, I am seeing a lull in the mortgage applications. We are down to, I think it's a 28-year low for mortgage applications. There's also an issue we're having with inventory. So there's a shortage of inventory. I have a lot of people pre-qualified wanting to buy homes, but they're having trouble, either with affordability or getting their offer accepted because there's still so much competition. But ultimately, it's still a great time to buy a house, and I'm still very optimistic. And I think whoever gets a house now is smart because I think prices are going to keep going up. So it's still a great time to invest and to buy.
And you talk the talk, but you also walk the walk. You're a multiple property owner.
Oh yeah.
You're an investor. You have second home. You have, of course, your own primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing opportunities in the marketplace for you to get in the market as an investor?
Definitely. Yeah. I do think it's still a great time. Like I said, I think prices are going to continue to go up. Rents are going to continue to go up. So it's always a good time to be an investor. Best time was yesterday. Always.
It's like when's the best time to plant a tree?
Yeah.
It's always today or yesterday.
Right. So cool. I do think that getting in the market is just important because it's going to, over time, real estate is such a great investment. And I am lucky that I got in when I did. For the only regrets I ever have are not buying more real estate. Seriously, that's my big regret. I lived in California. Oh my goodness. Had I bought, I had the opportunity to buy a $350,000 house that I was renting in Santa Barbara.
Ooh.
I just went there on vacation and it's now worth $1.7 million. And so, buy it now.
Well, it's interesting. Over the years, I've always heard this, is the time right now? Is the time right now? And my advice is usually it's not timing in the market, it's time in the market
exactly.
that benefits you. And, it sounds similar to the theme you were just sharing. And, how often do we all regret not buying that property in Santa Barbara 20 years ago, or not buying the property, even 5 years ago in Falls Church or Leesburg or wherever it is that we're interested in. Most people that are experiencing that question today seem to always wish that they bought 10 years ago.
Of course, yes.
And yet 10 years from now, I wonder for the people that make the decision, whether they're going to say, oh, well, I'm glad I bought 10 years ago, or whether they're like, oh, no, I wish I did another 10 years, 10
I've
years
never
from now.
heard anyone regret it.
So
ever. Like
yeah.
investors are always happy they did it. I mean, you might have one that has, you have to watch out for the lemons, if you're not prepared to handle the costs of repairs or whatever. But ultimately, I just can't think of a better investment.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good segue into the idea of preparing for your success as a homeowner, as
Yeah.
someone who's going to buy real estate. Preparing for success is so important. What to you is the ideal timeline to start looking at your finances, organizing your finances, talking to a lender? What does that process look like at its best to you?
I think 6 months in advance is really nice. Like ultimately, you should always be thinking about it. Like my kids are only 15 and 17. They're already thinking about it. So it's never too early to think about it. But yeah, I think especially if you have credit concerns or you're just not sure, it's your first time, I would say now because, that way you can be set up for success no matter what. We can work on your credit score if it needs it. We can line things up so you know how much you need for a down payment, for closing costs. And that will just get them, everyone will get mentally prepared at that point. But, also, hey, we do things spur of the moment too. So if someone sees something they love, they got to have it. We can do it in a day.
Because it really is a spontaneous world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's immediate satisfaction. Interesting that home shopping, if you will, or purchasing a home almost became that way in terms of it's like, well, sometimes you had more time to buy shoes than you had time to buy a house when the market was at its hottest. There is more time to evaluate your decision now. How often are you seeing people actually plan 6 months in advance or, starting that organization process into looking into the financing and making decisions towards buying a home?
Really now more than ever, I feel like the millennials are curious. They are curious. They want to talk to a live person. They want to find out how much will they qualify for, and they want to compare it to their rent. Their rents are going up. So they're like, I do feel like people are being a little bit more prepared right now.
And you say they want to talk to a live person. How often is ChatGPT filling out mortgage applications instead of people coming to you these days?
I don't know. The truth is I really don't know. I feel like people really want a human. I mean, if you're going out on that ledge, you're not going to get the best advice. Like the ChatGPT and these spammy applications that people can fill out online, you're doing yourself a disservice because, I've 19 years of experience in lending. I am going to know all of the loan products available and help that client get the best deal. So get the best deal and get the right loan for their needs. Everybody is different. And ChatGPT just doesn't know the human side of things. Like, maybe they have, a elderly parent that they need to care for, or, a disabled child. There's so many different factors that go into which type of loan that we're going to do, or we know they're going to move in the military. They're only going to be here for a couple years. So there's so many different loan products that we can tailor specifically to that client. So it's I just don't know why anyone would do that. The spammy application thing.
Well, give us an example of one of the worst case loan clients that you've seen, like they were involved with an online lender that promised something and didn't deliver, and they end up switching over to the best in the world, which is right here in front of me and Kristi Hardy, and describe that difference. Like, show us what the bottom of your industry looks like and what you've actually seen someone come from that.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Extreme over to you.
Literally, maybe once a week, I'm saving a deal from an online lender or from a lender who doesn't have experience and doesn't know what they're doing. So, I have a realtor friend recently who we pre-approved her last year for a certain amount, but we said, you need more time. She needed more time on her job to be able to count the income for a couple years. So she spoke with someone else who said, oh, I can do it. It was a week before closing, and he's like, sorry, you're denied. We can't do it. And it was all the things that we told her that we needed in advance. So anyway, we jumped in and were able to do it at a better rate. Oh, they were going to change her loan type. She was going to do a USDA loan at a certain percentage rate. And then at the last minute, like, oh, well, we can do FHA, but the rate is half a point higher. We were able to come in and still offer her that USDA rate, and with less points. So all the time, I mean, that's just the freshest one on my mind because it's a realtor. But yeah, we save deals all the time, especially people don't know. There's something about FHA loans. Like if someone already has an FHA loan, getting another one, there's tricks. There's tricks to it. And also there's tricks to being able to count your just different types of income that people will, think that they can count, but they can't. So my
Can you
team.
give us an example of one of those?
Well, yeah.
Especially for investors that are buying their own primary home.
Yes.
And they think, oh no, I might have hurt myself because I've got all these investment properties and now I can't buy the house I really want to buy for my family.
Right. Well, investors have to watch out with how many properties that they own. If you own over 4, you could have an issue. It just depends because some lenders don't want to lend if you have 4 properties, and most don't want to lend if you have over 10 finance properties. So you really got to, watch your numbers, make sure you choose carefully. But yeah, like for example, with FHA, you have to move. If you already have an FHA loan, you can get another one, but you have to have a good reason. You have to be sizing up. You have to be moving for your work. You have to move over, 150 miles away. There's just different little guidelines that if you're not sharp and you don't have a lot of experience, you'll miss. And then you'll lead someone all the way down to the closing table and not close.
Yeah. And that, from being in real estate for also 20 years on the other side of these transactions, one of the things that hurts most is when you're led down a path that someone cannot help you finish.
Yes.
And you're following this lender or this loan product under one promise, and they can't actually deliver. And the stress and the scramble and the, how does this change things for me? And what is the true cost of following a false promise instead of going down the road with somebody that's legitimate, that's giving you options and advice all along the way. And what's so fascinating is it really comes down to the value of the promisor.
Right.
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 So,
I mean, it's my word, and I take my reputation very seriously. I don't send the approval letter till I know for sure I'm going to close a loan. And if for some reason there's something sticky about it, I'll get it pre-approved before I write that letter. And we know what to look for with the pitfalls and everything. So I think, you're taking a huge risk. You're going to put your earnest money at risk. You're going to ruin the realtor's reputation. There's a lot of things at stake, but I will never do that to someone. Like if I put my name on it, it's going to close. My name is everything, my word. So yes, it's shocking how many people will just say, oh, it sounds good. Here's your approval letter. But they don't know because they haven't reviewed the documents. They haven't reviewed the guidelines.
So put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. Let's say you forgot that you've ever owned property before and you're now in it and you're going to buy your first home and you're in those shoes. What qualities do you think that person should be looking for, or you should be looking for in a loan officer when you're like, oh my gosh, this is all new for me. My realtor is making certain suggestions, but there's these certain distractions online that I'm curious about, and or these offers that look really attractive. What qualities would you suggest that people look for besides just interest rates?
Oh, I think interest rate should almost be the last thing you're looking for. It's kind of like buying something at Nordstrom versus, I don't want to say the flea market, but like something, it's a huge difference. So rate should really be a factor, but it should not be the primary factor. You should look for someone, has a great sense of communication, who's not going to avoid your phone calls in a stressful moment, someone that you can have access to. My cell phone's out there for everyone. I text and call my clients, and they call me at all hours of the night and weekends. So someone who's accessible, someone who listens and really cares is so important because, like I said, there's so many times that the ball could be dropped. So you just have to, I would look for someone who's always going to be there for me and understands and listens to my concerns. someone with a lot of experience and knowledge. Definitely someone who is in the local market, whose name, who cares about their reputation. I think that's huge. Like sometimes I'll get a referral for an out of state client, and I tell them, you know what, I think, see who your realtor recommends, because that person, their name is of value in the neighborhood, and they're not going to want to, drop the ball. So same thing, like an online lender may look attractive.
It could be of value.
It could be,
if
they know what they're doing.
Best practices in the industry.
Correct.
Then in other words, having your name on a pre-approval really matters in this marketplace.
Definitely. I win deals for clients all the time because of my approval letter. They recognize my name, they recognize where I work, and they know that it's going to close. Yeah, I win deals all the time.
How do you embrace the power of that?
I love it.
The power of your name wins deals.
I love it. It's my favorite when someone tells me that, oh, I saw your approval letter and 3 others, and I immediately told my seller that they have to go with you because it's you. So no, I love that. That's like the best feeling.
That's so interesting. To have it's instead of a vicious cycle, it's the opposite. It's a positive reinforcement cycle. It's like, wow, like I want to hear that more and more. Therefore, I'm going to do more and more credible things and make sure that my promises are stronger.
Yes.
That when I say that I can take you down this path, I'm going to get you there because you want to fulfill hearing that. Wow.
It's true. It's like a hamster wheel. I love it. I just searched that out. That really, it does make me happy. And I always call the listing agent, put in a good word too. So I like to build that rapport. And oftentimes the listing agent will tell me things that they can't or won't tell the buyer's agent. So sometimes I can even help massage the terms a little bit to help the client win the deal. So that's kind of a nice perk too.
Yeah, influence.
Yeah, it's great.
Tell me a little bit more on the personal side. If you were to pick one character, maybe out of a book or a movie or a TV show that you feel like you can really relate to, who would that character be?
Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games.
Yeah, cool
I love
character.
that book. I love the books and the movie. She's just, I don't know. She's just a badass. So whether I'm like her or not, I want to be. She came from very humble beginnings and is a fighter, very loyal and determined, and just, I don't know. I like that character a lot.
Well, she definitely influences her marketplace.
Yes, she does. For sure. Whatever means it takes, right?
And she honored her promises too.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about this difference between the loan volume or the mortgage application volume. So we're seeing the lowest point in 28 years, you said.
Yes.
Is that a national number or is that
it's
a local
national
market?
number. It's a national number.
Do you feel like our local market is similarly affected to that national
The
effect?
loan applications are trickling in. They're definitely down I think a lot of people are saying they're going to sit it out and wait, which is unfortunate because rates may actually go up into the 9s before they get better. Will they get better? Yes. And when they get better, they can refinance. It's all good. But, waiting might cost them. And especially because in our market, I do believe house prices are going to go up because the inventory is so low and demand is definitely stronger than the supply here. Definitely there's pockets in the country that are not like that. But definitely in the DC metro area, we are short on supply. So the applications are slow. They're down right now, and I think we're going to see a lot of attrition. I think we're going to see a lot of realtors and loan officers get out of the business because it's kind of like this is a professionals market. So I feel like professionals like yourself and myself, we're going to do really well. Like we're going to just gobble up the market share, for lack of a better term, while the people who are just the onesies and twosies who are not serious about their career, like we are, I feel like they're going to have to exit the market.
I really like that term, professionals market. I've heard sellers market and buyers market. And sometimes it's hard to tell, where does it really lie, right? And is it more of a buyer's market because there's less buyers out there, but there's also low inventory. So
Yeah.
what does it make it? But it's a professionals market.
Right.
It's the people that have the power to influence the market because of their credibility over time.
Yes.
Because you also can guide a client to say, there's less people applying for mortgages because interest rates are high. And yet we just discussed interest rates are one of the lowest parts. It is a factor, but it's not the only factor in this decision. And there's so many more things. And oftentimes it's not as bad as we fear. Sometimes it's not as good as we hope either. But at the end of the day, a professional will guide you to the optimal outcome amongst whatever the market conditions are.
Exactly.
So tell me more about, we heard about your influence, your credibility. Mm-hmm. Are there anything else that makes Kristi Hardy one of the best loan officers in our region?
Oh boy. I think it's just heart, and I think it's determination. And I'm obsessed. Like, I love it. And I think that's what it is. I think it's passion. Honestly, I think if you're going to be good at anything, you have to be passionate about it. I found my calling. Like, I love it. And I love talking to the clients. I love everything about my job. There are some parts that I don't love sometimes, but ultimately I just found the perfect little niche for myself. So I think passion is really the big thing. Like, there's so many, I see it all the time. Like, loan officers, they're complaining. They don't like realtors. They don't like buyers. They don't like blah, blah, blah. I like everybody. Like, I'm loving it. Like, I still love everybody, So I think just having
it's because I just haven't asked you a hard question on the podcast.
Well, you're next then.
Okay. So let's see how you love me after this one.
Oh, great.
Share with us a moment of ineptitude, stupidity, something that was just embarrassing or just didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. Not just professionally, but give us a story.
Oh, goodness. Well, family-wise, I have 2 sons, and several years ago, I thought I was buying second row seats to an awesome Harry Potter experience play, and the kids were super excited to go. I bought them several months in advance, paid top dollar for these tickets, best tickets ever. And the morning of the show, I go to print out the tickets, and it says waiting for Godot. And I was like, oh gosh, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't say Harry Potter. So anyway, Waiting for Godot is a very boring adult, like, so slow, such a slow play. But that's what we had the tickets to. So, I brought the family in. I was like, oh gosh, sorry guys, I made a mistake. So sometimes I will do, things like that where I'm really just, I don't know how I did it, but I bought tickets to the wrong show. So we went anyway. One of my kids was crying and so upset. The other one was like really grateful and felt bad for me. He felt like, oh, poor mom, she's done it again. Whatever. So we went there, we watched it. They were the only 2 kids. We all fell asleep. It was so boring, but
good family story.
Good family story now.
Yeah. Is it like a punchline in your family?
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. We're always like Waiting for Godot.
Hey, the value of those tickets actually is playing out pretty well in your family over time.
This is true.
The entertainment value came after the show was done.
That's a good point. Yeah, I get the butt of all those jokes now. I'm always like, no, I'm perfect. I never make mistakes. Oh, really? Waiting for Godot. That's what, there's certain things like that. Yeah, that humanize me all the time.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted you here is with as much brilliance as you show as a loan officer serving our marketplace, as much influence and power as you have to do good for the people that are wise enough to seek you in advance. As smart as you are in your industry and as a professional, you bring a human element and you recognize that it's not always about what's up here. It's about the passion and how we carry out our business. And
thanks.
That's what makes a market always a professional market. It's when you're passionate about being a professional. So
thank you. Well, wow. I might not fit out the door, but thank you so much. And I feel the same about you. I mean, I've always admired you and your business. You've always been so genuinely professional. I don't know. You're funny, you're cool, and you have just like a great way about you, and everything that you do is top notch. everything from running your business, even having this podcast studio. It's like, so everything's great. Like, the events that you put on for your clients are just like the wow factor. So it's cool to be in the room with you and have this, we both have the same kind of vibe going on.
Well, I really appreciate the comments, but also I really thank you for coming in and sharing with us your wisdom and your perspective. And let's hope for a great end of the year.
Absolutely.
And another good professionals market in 2024.
We got this. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
This podcast is about real estate with intelligence. It is pulling the sword from the stone. This podcast is about that unique balance in real estate, that balance between technological intelligence and our emotional intelligence, and the transactions and interactions with one another in the real estate process. That's why we're inviting expert guests, people who are knowledgeable and bring different perspective. Join me in exploring this fascination, the look behind the scenes of technological advancement and how it's interacting with people's decisions in real estate.
This is one of the last remaining ways to get a huge investment gain completely tax-free. You're going to want to buy a primary home to live in, but find one that needs a little work so you can get it cheaper and make improvements to it. Don't worry, you can do this slowly over time. Focus on improvements that will get you the most bang for your buck. You live there for at least 2 years, and over that time frame, you make it nicer. Plus, depending on the market, it will go up in value on its own. Then you sell the property for a profit per the IRS tax code. You don't have to pay any taxes on your gain, up to $250,000 if you're single and up to $500,000 if you're married. You can do this every 2 to 3 years if you want to and never pay a dime of taxes on the gains.